Buongiorno from our home in Sicily. So nice to be back here. You know, on this channel we feature many family-owned small businesses here in Sicily. And today we're going to go to Massachusetts to meet a business owner who was actually born in Sicily. He left to go to the United States when he was 10 years old, and he's built quite a number of businesses. And so this is really dedicated, this video is dedicated to all the immigrants from Sicily and elsewhere who have gone from zero and really have built big things. And you're one of them, Mal.
All I have to say is, when Esther told me that she had interviewed this man, who, by the way, is the scion, the pinnacle of success of Sicilian immigrants, I couldn't believe it, right? You know, I want to thank Sally Carullo, who's going to be on this video, for I was on her programming 20 years ago, by the way, for contacting Esther and introducing Esther to this gentleman.
It's a great interview. Let's go to Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Miguel.
Miguel, that's how I was born. Miguel.
You left when you were...
I left Sicily when I was 10 years old, and I often say that I left my heart over there, but I was born lucky twice. Once because I was born in Sicily, and with the culture, the music, the food that comes with it, I am blessed. And second, I'm blessed because I came to this country, and this country offers amazing opportunities, and I've been blessed with many amazing experiences, businesses, and here I am now representing Sicilian culinary. So here we are at Brelundi, which stands for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Actually, 40,000 arancinis a month. We're in over 120 supermarkets right now. We make over 60.
All over Massachusetts
all over
or
Massachusetts,
New England?
but we are negotiating nationwide now.
Why did you move to the United States? What brought you here?
One of my uncles married an American, and you know, back then in the 60s, they would have the bloodline, you know, calling over, and so we had a visa to come to this country, and we had 2 years to use it or lose it. So my dad says, let's go over there, let's try it, just not to lose the opportunity. So we lived there for 4 years, then we went back, and by that time, you know, I told Dad, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and I said, Dad, there's nothing here for me, you know, and so we decided to come back, and then we...
How long did you go back for?
About a year and 2 months. And then we came back when I was 16, and then we essentially put our roots down, and you know, we came back to be here permanently, and I'm still grateful for my parents that made that decision.
What was your reaction the first time you came to the United States?
Everybody has a TV, everybody has electricity. You go to the supermarkets and there's all this food that I never seen before, because we used to grow our own food. You know, the only reason why we would go to the stores would be to buy soap, shoes, and things that we could not make ourselves. But otherwise, it was like a shock that you can get, you know, oranges in April, or you know, just everything was there. It was just the abundance, the wealth. You know, it was, you know, again, it was overwhelming in the beginning, you know, but it was easy to get used to, I have to say.
I remember when I first came to this country too, right, as an immigrant, I remember it was just so many choices.
Right, exactly.
I never had this many choices of foods, of clothes, of everything. When you first went back to Sicily, you were 16 years old.
I was 15, came back when I was like 16,
15.
Yes.
What was it like going back?
So, for me, going back to Sicily was not something that I wanted to do, but my dad came over here by himself. In other words, all of his family remained in Sicily. My mom's family was all immigrated. My mom's family all immigrated to the U.S. So there was this, you know, do we stay here, do we stay there? Because my father, we had vineyards, he had his own business, he had real estate, and for him it was better. And he used to say, you know, I'm in this country, but I am deaf and dumb because I don't speak the language. I don't understand what people are saying, and I have to go work for somebody else. So for him, he didn't want to be here. When we went back, I felt at a loss because, you know, just even as a kid, I used to shovel snow, cut grass, and I was making money. You know, I mean, it was like, and back there was nothing for me to do. All my friends from school had mostly immigrated as well. So from like the 20 plus kids I was in school with in elementary before I came, half of them had already left for Germany, Canada, France, Northern Italy, you know.
Because there are no jobs.
Exactly. And so I felt there was nothing for me there. Absolutely nothing. I tried to, you know, even as a 15-year-old, I tried to work and they would pay me $1 a day. $1 and I couldn't understand it because I could cut somebody's grass or shovel somebody's snow and I would get $10. I mean, the ratio just, you know, and so I kept on sort of challenging that. I said, Dad, as soon as I'm of age, I'm out of here. And my father, you know, rest his soul, very common sense guy, he called for a family meeting. You know, we all got together around the table, and again, mind you, I'm the oldest kid.
Out of how many?
5. And Dad says, okay, he goes, let's make a family decision. Either we all stay here or we all go back to the U.S. Now, he's talking to his kids, and I'm the oldest, like I said, at 15. And he says, kids, for me, it's best to be here because this is where my family is, my business, you know, I speak the language. He goes, but it's not my decision. The last thing I want to do is split the family. I don't want you guys to go back to the U.S. We either all stay here or we all go back. So me, obviously, Mom had a pull in this country because her family was here. All of her brothers and sisters were here. So one vote for her, one vote for me. My younger brother, same thing, you know. So essentially, you know, it was 6 against 1, you know. And so that basically made the decision to, okay, let's go back to the U.S. So, as a matter of fact, what we did was he started putting his real estate on the market, which wasn't much. But when we came back, within 3 months, we bought a house in Somerville, you know, and we established roots. I had missed my high school because I lost 1 year when I came the first time, lost another year because we had gone back. So I didn't want to go back to high school because now it was like 2 years behind, you know. So what I did was I went to school at nights, got my GED. I started taking engineering courses at Wentworth, and I was working full time, you know.
And then where did you go from that to arancini?
Okay, so it's a long story, but it's a fascinating experience. So by the time, I started working full time, so I was saving money, living at home with my parents. At 19, I started buying real estate. And by the time I was 21, I had 28 apartments, you know, and I also started
Not bad for a young kid
not
from
bad
Castellammare del Golfo.
Exactly, and I started my business when I was 21. By 24, I had 40 employees. And I started building, started developing, and I experienced a lot of success at a young age. And I was blessed. I was just blessed but the opportunity was, again, that we came here the second time, I was able to work and make money and still get a good education. You know, so I was able to get my high school and get engineering courses. You know, I didn't get a diploma or a certificate, but I didn't care because I was getting the experience because I was working in the field. And anyways, as a builder, I built the first 30 Starbucks in the East Coast, from Washington, D.C. to Boston. I took up flying as a hobby. I ended up buying a flight school. So we operated over 20 airplanes. And through that relationship, through my business with the flight school, we used to lease our airplanes to the FAA to calibrate new installations. And through that relationship, I started remodeling air traffic control towers. Anyways, within 3 years, I was building radar towers all over the country, which was a 37-year run, building radar towers in all the major airports all over the country. San Francisco, JFK, Philadelphia, Boston, military, civilian airports. It was a fantastic, fabulous career. All the while, I was buying real estate, investing in real estate, you know. And like I said, it was a very successful run, you know, amazing experiences traveling all over the country with these projects. And when I was 50, I decided to stop working outside, sort of, traveling for work. So I built a hotel in Waltham, and I retired at 50. Now, very successful, but I'm going out of my mind. So I was traveling so much, and then all of a sudden I'm in a hotel, very successful, but still not rewarding personally. The hotel was successful, and I wanted to do something else, and I thought of going back into the food business since I built over 30 restaurants. In addition to Starbucks, I built other restaurants. And so I went to Sicily for a couple of weeks to get inspired. I was thinking of importing cheeses, I was talking to people about importing coffees, but I wasn't sold that that's a product that is unique. So I went to Sicily just to get inspired. So me and my son essentially went all over the island of Sicily, just testing out, checking out different products, things that could inspire me. And I noticed that the arancini was the product that was in the best restaurants and gas stations. I mean, you can find an arancini everywhere. And so I said, you know what? This could be a product that is not well known in the U.S. that I can bring it to the U.S. And my experience in traveling for those air traffic control, radar towers, I emulate this to espresso. 40 years ago, 30 years ago, you could not find an espresso to save your life. I mean, if you went to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, big cities, Italian restaurants, you could find an espresso. But go to Sonora, Texas, go to Mississippi, go to some of these states where they think the best coffee comes from a 7-Eleven. And again, that's fine, but you could not find an espresso. And I remember traveling with my Bialetti and a warmer to make my own espresso in the hotel room, And look now, where can you not find an espresso today? You see, so the evolution of an espresso from an unknown product to now is everywhere. So I thought that the arancini could be such a product that nobody knows. And in fact, since I've been making arancinis and I've been marketing it, I am still shocked how many people do not know what an arancini is. And so I like to think that I'm making headways in introducing this arancini. I advertise on television. I am known as the king of arancinis. As a matter of fact, they put a crown on me with arancinis instead of diamonds, through Phantom Gourmet, by the way. Give them the credit. And so now, just before COVID, we had contracts with cruise ships and supermarkets all over the country. And now we're in about 120 supermarkets. But I thought of, rather than me pushing the wholesale, why don't I build my own point of sales? And so this is the prototype, this Brelundi over here. This is the prototype in which I am trying to create a nationwide chain of restaurant that manufactures and sells directly to the consumer. Again, with the arancini being the main product of which we represent. And so the third restaurant is under construction right now, and I've got plans to build hopefully another 10 restaurants over the next couple of years. And then we'll see, maybe we'll go public, or we will try to get franchise, or whatever method will get us across the country. So that's my pursuit of, but I'm retired really. I'm just retired.
What do you hope people learn from your shops and your products and?
Well, I am proud that I can introduce products, which is like the way I grew up. The vegetables came from the backyard. The eggs came from the chickens, not a cotton box. When growing up, every Sunday, mom, dad would say, what do you guys want to eat, chicken or rabbit? And 2 minutes later, you hear the poor chicken, squawking, and then, half an hour later, the chicken was in the pot, and an hour later, we'd be eating the chicken that was, making noises an hour before. And the same thing with rabbits, the tomatoes, the fruits. We always, we had no money, and I say no money, we were poor, right? But I didn't know that. I didn't know we were poor because we never needed, we always had cheese, eggs, amazing vegetables, chicken, fruits out of this world, you know what I'm saying? So we needed nothing. I mean, we didn't have TV, we didn't even have electricity. you know. But never once did the only time I felt poor is when I came to this country, as I was saying earlier, and everybody's got televisions, 2 cars. You go to supermarkets and there's all these cookies and food that I had never even heard of, you know? And I didn't know we were poor. You
So,
know,
what do you hope people learn about Sicily?
So my hope is that I can share that experience and people can broaden their knowledge of food, you know, and where food comes from.
You said to me that when you moved to the United States, you left, your heart stayed in Sicily. What do you miss about Sicily?
Okay. What I miss about Sicily is the uniqueness in, again, the culture, the food. You know, especially where I come from in Castellammare, in the summer, they have events every night. There's so much life, you know. You walk down the course of Castellammare and you know so many people, and it's like one big family that we do not have in this country, you know. You go to the marina, you go to the spiaggia, and there is life, you know, there's just a lot of life. You feel alive, you know, and people are, you know, la passeggiata, you know, you go to the villa, you walk and you just greet and meet people, and everybody, you know, the hugs and the 4 kisses, you know, it's something that culturally we do not have in this country, or the quality of the food, you know. You can get a sandwich at a gas station, it's better than any best restaurant in this country.
At the auto grill. If you go to the auto grill.
I mean, everything is fresh, the mozzarella.
You know, I often say when I come to
Right.
the U.S., because I come twice a
Yes.
year, just for 2-3 weeks, that
Yes.
I feel it in my body.
Absolutely.
The foods are
Exactly.
not, and I look forward to
Yes.
getting replenished.
Absolutely. So when I go there, I feel at home. I mean, I am at home. Especially where I still have a lot of friends, you know, all the kids that I went to school with, and we get together. As a matter
Did
of
a
fact,
lot of them return to?
yeah, we had a reunion about 7 years ago. We had a
awesome.
reunion. I invited, there was about, out of the 22 kids in my class, I have a picture of it. I think 18 of us, people came from Northern Italy, Germany, just to have a
That's
class
awesome.
reunion. It was one of the most beautiful experiences, and we had it at Scopello, the little town up on Scopello.
Scopello,
Spectacular.
Lutzingo,
Yeah.
it's one of our
Spectacular.
stops on our West Coast tour, because we know it's so
Absolutely,
huge.
absolutely.
Let me ask you something, because I have heard this from other Sicilians who moved to the United States, especially first generation like
Right.
yourself. Was there any discrimination? Did people say anything? Did you feel any discrimination
In this country?
in this country?
Absolutely. Now, God bless me with being 6 foot tall, 6'2" tall, and you know, I can take care of myself. But when I was in school as a teenager, yes, I experienced, you know, discrimination, and like I said, I was blessed
Like
because.
how did it come across?
Oh, well, kids would try to pick on you, you know what I mean, you know, bully you, right? But fortunately, you know, one, I was always overly confident about myself, and 2, I was bigger than most of them, so, you know, on a one-on-one, I would always have them regret that they would pick on me, you know what I mean? So it would take 3 guys to sort of humiliate me, but then I would get them one at a time. So it was a constant.
Because
it
you were
was.
an immigrant,
because
or
I was an
because
immigrant,
or because you were from Sicily?
well, did not speak English well, for one. I dressed a little bit different. I mean, I had nice clothes, and these guys were wearing, you know, what was in the 70s, what was that, polyester, you know, and I had cotton shirts, and, you know, and these guys were wearing polyester, you know, so I stood out like a.
Our community, Esther, is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. For a cup of coffee, the price, $1.99 a month, you could help us grow even bigger and more famous. What do you think about that? She's been doing a great job on the private community. There's a button, and she goes like this, someplace down here that you press join our community. And we just use it for overhead travel expenses. We've got a ton of places to go to this season. It's just about ready to kick off now that she's back.
Thank you for supporting us.
Thank you very much.
All right, now let's go back to the programming. I'm sitting here in Tewksbury talking to Miguel from Castellammare, Sally, whose family came from Aragona and now lives in Waltham. And then this lovely gentleman who's from Lowell and who has been in Sicily and Firenze for 37 years. And guess what we're doing? We're eating, what are we eating? Iris, the one with the ricotta, and talking about all things Italy. And I wish you guys could join us because the conversations here are memorable.
So in school, again, I was discriminated by the other kids seeing me as different, you know. But as I grew up and I grew older, you know, people would call me like friends that, you know, that I associate, you know, they would call me because, Mike, I need to talk to you, please, private, you know. And I said, sure, you know, let's talk, right? And they would say, you know, Michael, you know, my son-in-law beat up my daughter. Can you do me a favor? Can you go and talk to him, you know, maybe rough him up a little bit, you know what I'm saying, and tell him that if he doesn't, you know, stop hitting my daughter, that, you know, maybe you break his legs. And I'm going like, why do you come to me? And he would say like, well, aren't you Sicilian? I say, yeah, but what do you think? Every Sicilian does this for a living? I mean, I don't break people's legs, you know? And so there is, yes. Or when I say I'm from Sicily, they would say, oh my God, you must be mafia, you know? And it's sad and funny and obviously ignorance because I never felt more safe, you know, walking in Sicily, more so than walking in downtown Boston, you know what I mean? So, you know, mafia isn't something, you know, I mean, of course it's there, we know it's there, it's a criminal element, but we have that over here just as well. We have gangs and other types of organized crime, you know, but because the movies made it so, I don't know if it's romantic or if it's, you know, but not every Sicilian is in the mafia, absolutely not. To the contrary, you know. And by
kind,
the way,
they're generous,
absolutely,
they're honest. You know, one of the things why we started You, Me, and Sicily, the video, was to dispel stereotypes,
absolutely.
to educate people about all the treasures and contributions Sicilians have made to society, past, present, and of course will be in the future.
And by the way, you know, you're living in that town, or now it's a city like Castellammare, and you know, some of the biggest names in New York came out of my hometown, right? So it's inevitable that they are your neighbors, their children, grandchildren, is kids you went to school with, they're your good friends. They don't come home and break your legs. They don't come home and beat you up. To the contrary, they are, you know, there's good people and bad people. You know what I'm saying?
Period,
Just because
right?
your uncle, your great-uncle, your great-grandfather was involved in the mafia, it does not make them mafiosi. To the contrary, like I said, you know, they're the kindest people, and I'm not justifying one way or the other. I mean, I don't condone any type of criminality of any kind, whatever nation, nationality, creed you are. Criminality is not good, period, anywhere. But just like any place in the world, there is an element, and we have nothing to do with it. We know it's there. I have no connections, and but people just assume just because you come from, especially Castellammare, even within Italy, oh my God, you know, what do we have in Sicily? Just good food and mafia, you know, and I've heard that many times, and you know, you chuckle at it, say it's ignorance, you know, and I don't let it bother me because, like I said, just people are not educated.
Thank you again to Mr. Columba, Mike Columba, for having us in his shop. The arancini and the iris were delicious. Thank you very much. And thank you again to Sally for introducing us and making this possible. And I'll put the name of his shop and the address right over here. So if you're in the area, check it out. But I want to say something about, you know, immigrants to the United States of America, first generation, as am I. It's not easy. Whether you're Sicilian or Hungarian or whatever other country you go to, you go from something that's so familiar, your home, your language, your culture, your history, and you go to a whole new country with different set of rules, different expectations, different customs, different language, and ching ching for Michael for building really an empire. He's also building hotels out. I mean, he's got so many projects going on, and I'm really hopeful that this summer we can meet up in Castellammare del Golfo.
You know why this video really struck a chord with me on so many different levels. First of all, I happen to be now a first-generation immigrant here in Sicily. I've been here 23 years. The old reverse immigrant trick, and fighting language problems and cultural problems, etc. So, Michael, I kind of related to you in a lot of ways, except in a reverse way, right? That's number one. And finally, number two, he happens to be, I knew about him, I've known about him. His reputation precedes him. He's been fantastically successful. He joins a literary group of immigrants, or those whose parents were immigrants, including Frank Giuffrida from Hilltop Steakhouse, that was the largest steakhouse in the United States at one time. The whole Tuscan village Faro family from San Giovanni La Punta, legendary people. There are areas in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Esther,
and all over the United States.
Right, but that are real points of life for Sicilian immigrants. So now what we have to do is we have to make it a point of light here in Sicily on their behalf. That's my view.
Listen, all over the United States, and if you know of a small business owner or Sicilian background, Italian background, that perhaps you'd like for us to feature, leave us a note, leave us a comment. We're always interested in learning more about that. So that's quite a trip that I had here. And I want to just, before I forget, talk about Sally. I want to just thank her again for these beautiful aprons. Alfred got one, I got one, and also the tea that she gave us. Grazie mille. And I want to make a quick announcement that we still have some room left on our June tour of our West Coast. We have a couple of spots open, so if you're interested, message me. Also in our October tour, and of course the Tuscany tour. If you're interested in seeing Tuscany with us, check it out on our website, www.yumiinsicily.com. And now, good to be back in Sicily.
Hey, you know, it wasn't the same without you. I have to say that much. Now I'm back to normal. No, I'm not kidding. I'm only kidding. Just, it's right. I missed her, and I'm glad she's here.
So, ching ching. And we'll see you right back here on our channel next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you're watching, it's 4 p.m. Sicily time. Ciao.
Thank you very much.